Well, Happy New Year. It's Frank Hughes. I'm going to show you I'm right now doing the final cuts for the interior pieces. We already got the end caps that came out really good and nice and solid. I got a couple of bubbles I'll have to deal with, but nothing major on that in there on the inside. So I'm not too concerned. The door's going to actually hide most of that problem. But anyway, a little bit of CA glue will solve that problem with a little syringe. Right here is the rough cut. I make rough cuts when I cut the initial Naugahyde or Tolex, excuse me. And here is the piece where it goes. Same thing. You need to also make sure you put the. You also need to make sure that you do put the razor knife up. This piece here, and I had to think this through when I took it off. Again, I was fortunate I was able to get all the pieces off pretty much intact. And it's kind of important to basically be able to figure out, and I'm using this kind of as my template. This piece, for example, it goes here. And this, again, I had to figure the order. And the way I figured it out, I looked at the overlap, and if there looks like glue on top of the overlap, I knew that piece had to go in first. And this piece right here has got we'll call it almost, it's the seam, underlayment to the seam, and it looks very good right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up, now I'm planning on removing this piece, and then I know I need to replicate this piece. I've already cut, again, the rough pieces. I gave them I think 4 inches extra. And the reason I did that was I was just doing the rough cut to make sure I had enough of the Naugahyde, and I didn't know if I was going to have to. I wanted to make sure I had enough, so I cut rough pieces with allowances, and then now what I'm doing here, I'm doing pretty much the final cuts. Now what I am going to do is, and again, it's just I want to make sure I have, I can put down a nice seam. I'm going to try right now and just add 1 inch to this piece right here. So this piece measures 11 inches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go 12 inches or 1 foot across the whole piece. What I do have now, this right here is that sheetrock measure. That's my straight edge. Any straight edge will work. I just kind of like it when I can do a straight edge that I know will it will at least get very close to all the way across. So now what I'm going to do here, though, I want to measure out 1 foot. And 1 foot looks like, and I'm going to try it this way. Yes, I can do it. I'll show you why. Because I want to make sure this material doesn't move once I start cutting. And so what I was going to do, I want to make sure I got 1 foot here. And it looks like I got 1 foot there. And I want to do 1 foot here. And I have it. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a couple of big clamps, and I'm going to clamp this down. And again, I'm a big measure several times and cut one, especially with Naugahyde, it's fairly expensive. I want to make sure I don't end up screwing something up and have to reorder. So now what I'm going to do, there we go. I want to measure again this piece to make sure it looks good and it's right. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. It's all the way 1 foot. So now what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll cut it. The other thing is, when you're cutting Tolex, what I do, and it may seem wasteful at times, is I change blades fairly quickly. And the reason being is it seems to where the blades get dull very quick. And so I just want to ensure, I want to make sure that it does not cause problems later on. Sorry, I'm trying to get this. One of the things I forgot to put the old blade up inside the container. So I recommend, it doesn't matter, I recommend just make sure you have a bunch of blades handy that you can use to ensure that you're cutting with a sharp piece. It just makes life a lot easier. Now what I want to do, I'm going to do this just to double check, make sure we're good. Okay, it looks like that's going to give me plenty of room and give me that 1 inch, which will give me a 1/2 inch either side, additional seam, move the seam out, an additional 1/2 inch either side. Okay, now what I'm going to do, okay, suggestion here also is when you're cutting, you kind of want to slant inward to make sure your knife does not walk out. You want it to be following the edge. And then you just see what I'm doing. I'm putting a good bit of pressure on it because I want to try to make sure I cut it the first time, and where I don't have to go back and again, I'm taking my time and I'm pushing down pretty firmly on the knife, and I'm also pushing down on the to make sure I don't deform and the cut won't be accurate. Okay, and we're pretty much, whoops, sorry about that. Okay, now what I'll do, let's see, make sure it's cut. Looks like I got it all the way. And I did. Okay, now let me go ahead and cut this. There we go. And this is cut. So now take the clamps off. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is before we get started, I was going to have to swap out the paper. And again, that's trying to keep it clean where you don't get glue on the exterior. This glue does come off. It's not problematic, but again, just trying to keep everything neat. And okay, there we go. Let me see if I got that one. Pull that in a little bit. There we go. Okay, and looky here. In the trash you go. Now I'll take this and we'll test fit it. Again, we'll just want to make sure it's going to fit fine. I'm probably going to have to adjust the length a little bit. Okay. Normally I would have this at 90 degrees this way, where I'm not having to walk around the world, but I wanted to make sure that you guys could see what I'm doing here. Pull this back in a little bit now for that reason. There we go. Okay. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have to cut this a little bit. Let me see what is it. Go ahead and split this up. Let me see how much I need to cut off here. Okay, it looks like I'm going to cut. Let me see here. I'm folding it where I can see approximately where it needs to cut. It looks like I about need to cut off about an eighth or so. Let's just look. I'm going to try an eighth. Let's see if that works. Okay. And this should be pretty straightforward. Measure an eighth out. Let's see here. Okay. Now what I can do, I can use this. That looks pretty cool. Go ahead and cut. Okay, let's see if I get it. Yeah, I got it. Again, take your time. And I'm always kind of the opinion, I try my best to go sometimes a little slower when I'm doing this, because the paste makes waste in this stuff, and this again can be expensive. Okay. I think I'm getting somewhere. And this material, by the way, is a little thicker than what comes on the original roads. Okay, I think I got that right. Good. Okay, that looks good there. That looks really good when I fold it over. So we're good. Now what I need to do is, I'll show you in a minute, I want to make sure that we're in good stead here. So what I'm going to do, I want the same amount of seam on one side as the other. So at 12 inches, I want to put a mark on the material at the middle. So when I start to apply it, I know then what's going on here. So we go ahead and mark it at 6 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark it on the other side. And then the other thing I wanted to do, doing that, let's just see how much that gives me on. Okay, if I put that dead center there, okay. Let's see how much we get here. Okay, it looks like about 1 inch there. And so I know I need to measure in. When I install it, I need to go ahead and do 1 inch. Now I am not going to, I'm going to stop the recording and then do the glue up, and then we'll go from there. This again, what I'm going to do, by the way, is I'm going to just glue up one side, and then I'll roll the material. I mean, I'll go ahead, and then it will be just make it a little easier, and I think hopefully will be a little easier because you don't have a lot of room in here to work with your hands and stuff. Okay, and so I know now where I need to put that. Okay, well I'm gonna stop the recorder and I'll come back on in just a sec.